Great to have you back with us. In the last episode, we discussed about the deep tech intervention for business growth, strategies for product positioning, how the need for digitization has changed, and also the journey of a startup. Continuing our discussion today with Smita, Prem, Abhishek, and Faiz, we will discuss about the key issues under SDGs India, the change in the market, pre-COVID, post-COVID era, challenges during launching a new business, and also the future of the CRM market. On the behalf of NASSCOM Insights, I would like to welcome Smita Mishra, founder CEO of Fandoro Technologies, Prem Naraindas, founder and CEO at Katonic.ai, Abhishek Prakash, founder Mtalkz, and Faiz Mohamed Haneef, founder and CEO of NeoITO. Now, starting with Prem. So, Prem, deep tech ecosystem is again holds a great importance for India, but the current challenge is that still deep tech ecosystem have to penetrate more. Penetration is increasing, the growth is visible, but still a lot of growth has to happen. So what do you think? What are the actions should the stakeholders take in this regard? What are the steps and which all stakeholders should take that step? So please, can you, being a startup, can you help us understand that?
Yeah, absolutely, Ashish. And see, deep tech. See, when I was in college, although it was many years back, and when I talked to a lot of students, most of them aspire to finish their engineering or masters or PhD and work in very reputed companies which are mostly service oriented, right? Because there was a boom in India, right? Companies like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, they all came in. They really transformed and really changed the way the world looks at it. So while that was Revolution 1.0, in my opinion, the Revolution 2.0 is more, moving towards product. So we need to start at the ground root level of aspiring students, right? Be it universities or at college or even at school, to help them understand what is deep tech and why deep tech is important, and also show them the application of. So in the first part of webinar, I talked about why business. So a lot of data scientists, a lot of blockchain engineers, they're very good at technology, but they don't know what it means to the business, and they really struggle to articulate. So bridging that gap, and Katonic has taken that step. We've signed a MOU with UPES, University of Mysore, University of New South Wales, now with University of Singapore, where we are trying to bridge that gap, and that needs to start at the ground level, and also from the government of India, where there needs to be investments made. There needs to be cutting edge, because deep tech, you can't just do it on a laptop. You need high-end computing. If it is quantum, you need quantum computers. You need, deep neural networks. If you want to build a chat GPT of the future, you need really, a lot of infrastructure. So investments they're required to, build cutting edge R&D, giving grants to universities, working with cloud providers so that they can actually provide free access to that. So start there as IT powerhouse, but more in the services, not so much in. Still, the innovation still happens in Silicon Valley, and just like how the innovation of the product happens in Silicon Valley and development happens in China, the same thing happens here. So we have to start moving towards more product and IP based investments, where, because the future is all about IP, deep tech, and that's the only way. And that requires changes at the grassroots level from the school onwards, where people are educated about deep tech. The students are educated about how deep tech can be applied to solve business problems, because I meet a lot of data scientists and blockchain experts who are experts in their area, but they have no clue on how to apply. To also bring in the product mindset at the school and university level, and also because deep tech requires a lot of investment. You can't test a AI model, you can't build a new neural network without a lot of compute. So grants from the government, cutting edge R&D centers, partnership with cloud providers who can actually provide these cutting edge tools, because deep tech is always built on infrastructure. That's another thing. And for startups, definitely this government is doing a lot. It's a very business friendly government, but definitely more mentoring is required. NASSCOM is doing a good job on the deep tech. I think all of us as an industry need to come together. And the other thing which I've seen, the trend is that there's a lot of open source. A lot of innovation is happening in open source. And when I go to any open source program, I hardly see people from India kind of contributing. Even if they're very few. I think we need to encourage open source programs which are started in India, contributed by India. We have people like hundreds and thousands of people who are very eager to contribute in their free time. So we need to do that, encourage open source programs, bring the collaboration, and also bring the, there's a lot of research happening. In fact, there is a presentation I'm doing with University of Singapore, where we are talking about how do we monetize the research. There's so much of research happening with PhD students, and everybody is more interested in getting the PhD and writing a right paper and building something which is sitting somewhere. So what we need to do is essentially provide industry an ability to search all the researches which is happening. So all the universities have to come together, have some kind of place which Katonic is enabling for many universities. Research is searchable. You're able to reuse that code. You're able to demonstrate the value of that research to business and help businesses start using that collaboratively. So, bridging that gap between industry, academia is also very important. I'm not seeing much happening there. Definitely, Katonic is doing our part, and I can see NASSCOM doing, but that's the future. So, future is all about IP, deep tech, right? The ones who have the IP are going to rule the world. The war is no more going to be, it's going to be cyber war. It's going to be AI, blockchain, quantum. I think the other thing we need to do is, okay, we might have missed the bus in few areas, but then we need to start making investments in quantum computing and other new tech, new technologies which are trending, and invest now so that in 5 years we are at least ahead of time in that. So overall, but a lot of changes have happened. I see a lot of change. There's a lot of product mindset, a lot of fantastic, great products which are coming out of India, and I'm sure in next 3-4 years things will really change. What India did for IT services, very soon I can see that happening in the product. So we are taking the right direction there.
Absolutely, Prem. I think I totally agree. You mentioned one important thing that IP-driven innovation, so intellectual property holds great importance in a sector like deep tech. And obviously, the collaborations, a strong collaboration between the stakeholder is required in STG and in deep tech in most of the sectors. So collaboration, stakeholder collaboration is very important. Smita, so SDG again holds great importance, just like deep tech. So my question is very much similar to what we talked to Prem. So what are the key issues and challenges that are there for the India's SDG, and that will need some serious intervention and support from the stakeholders? So do you agree that yes, we have to start from the ground level, but what are the major issues and challenges you face?
No, absolutely, Ashish. So, as a business, when we started, definitely we were, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, that not many people even knew about SDGs. So, building the awareness was one of the first things. But if you look at SDGs, the whole purpose with which SDGs was built was more for nations to really collaborate. And now we are translating that into businesses. So, translating those SDGs for businesses to adopt. So, if look at some serious key issues and challenges that India faces in achieving SDGs, and then I'll translate that into our businesses also, is, for example, poverty. Now, despite our rapid economic growth, recently we have done really well also, but poverty still remains a significant challenge. Our country is home to a large population still living in poverty, particularly in rural areas, and addressing that will be critical to achieving many of the SDGs. Education is another area. We've made significant progress and in increasing access to education, but there are still excuse me, significant challenges that needs to be addressed. Quality of education, disparities in access to education, dropout rates. These are some of the major issues, particularly during pandemic. I believe just one of our panelists was speaking about pre and post COVID time on digitization, and uh, we saw how many students we lost to work, and we saw how important digital infrastructure is and how it is still not accessible to the last mile. Health is another issue where, as a country, we are still facing challenge in improving our health outcomes, particularly for the marginalized communities. Access to healthcare, particularly in the rural areas, is still limited, and many people still lack access to basic services. Sanitation is another area. Again, we made some very good progress with initiatives like Swachh Bharat, but open defecation still continues to be an issue in many rural areas, and the country has a long way to go before we actually achieve universal access to sanitation. Gender equality is another significant issue where, particularly in terms of access to healthcare, education, employment opportunities, we see that these inequalities continue to still exist. Climate change, I mean, that's one big problem for us as a nation to achieve SDGs, is because ours is one of the most vulnerable country to the impacts of climate change. And as a country, we are already facing issues like water scarcity, extreme weather, sea level rise, And addressing those will be important for us as related to sustainable cities, sustainable energy, adopting sustainable agriculture. These will be critical for us to achieve SDGs. Governance is another area. We still face issues of corruption, lack of transparency in governance, which are actually hindering our progress on SDGs. So strong governance system is required for effective implementation and monitoring of SDGs, and finances that are required. One to achieve all of this. One interesting insight I had on all these aspects are these are all interrelated. You cannot solve gender equality without solving education, which you cannot solve without solving health, access to health and food, which again you cannot solve without solving poverty and joblessness. So these have to work in tandem. And when you translate all of these issues and how our businesses are trying to work on these, and what are the issues and challenges that businesses face in achieving SDGs, and that will require, as you mentioned, serious intervention and support from stakeholders. Some of these challenges are, let's start with purely lack of awareness and understanding. Businesses don't understand what SDGs are, how they can contribute to achieving them. This makes it very difficult for them to align with their operations and own strategies with the SDGs. And the challenge is limited resources, because many businesses, particularly small and medium-sized businesses, face limited resource are always facing limited resources, including financial, technical capacity to implement SDGs. Then there is, of course, limited access to sustainable technologies. A lot of our SMEs are not able to access them, which such technologies which help them reduce their environmental footprint and contribute to SDGs. There's we still are some way far from actually being able to access funding and other incentives from government on sustainable development as business for adopting the sustainable practices in our business. Limited access to sustainable markets. A lot of our SMEs don't have those have limited opportunities for growth and in terms of sustainable markets. Then there is limited data and measurement. We don't have enough data to actually track our performance on sustainability and SDGs. So people are not capturing that information. We are not able to monitor progress and make informed decisions there. There's, of course, limited collaboration and networking opportunities where for businesses which are, even with respect to various stakeholders, as you mentioned, the businesses, the civil society organizations, the government agencies, so that they all can come together to implement SDGs. So the way I look at it is something that we as a business are trying to push through is building those awareness adoption of sustainable practices in business operations. And as all the stakeholders, I think to overcome these challenges, the government and businesses need to collaborate with various stakeholders, including civil society organizations. Academia has a serious role to play in this, private sector, of course, and to develop and implement effective policies and programs to achieve this. International organizations and development partners can also provide, some assistance with technical assistance, funding, capacity building. But over the last few years, we've actually seen how these developed nations have underperformed on deploying the funds that were promised to developing nations like India for technology innovation. So we as a country should therefore look at alternatives and continue the momentum we have picked up on sustainability, so that we don't underperform on our commitments. Like we have committed net zero, achieving net zero by 2070 as a country. Additionally, Indian businesses can definitely, this is the last point I would like to make here, that Indian businesses should look to form and join industry-wide initiatives, self-regulatory bodies, and drive sustainable practices and contribute to SDGs. Instead of waiting for somebody else to guide or get started and have some, regulatory policy there. Yeah, that will be all, Ashish.
This it looks like we still have a long way to go in SDG, and I think collaboration is one of the key ways through which we can solve this issue. Moving on fast with fast, as we discussed about the digitization. So that has changed in the last few years. But we'd like to understand from you what kind of challenges you face in executing this digital transformation journey and launching new businesses.
Yeah, great question. So first of all, many enterprises, they fail to execute their digital transformation journey because they don't get this right. They don't get what is strategic in nature and what is transformational in nature, right? So we are talking about operational efficiency, right? Increasing performance of your existing resources from a digital transformation planning perspective, but these are not strategic in nature. Anything that comes as strategy is all about how do you increase your business footprint or add more value to your customers. So I think there is this range of thoughts, which usually businesses kind of get confused on, and they call either or as digital transformation. When you look at the entire roadmap of digital transformation journey, right, we talk about change management in terms of people within the organization accepting that change. And that is one of the biggest hurdles, basically, right? How can you enforce the new scope of iterative optimization in terms of new tools that can be launched? So your people in your organization, they have to be trained first. And I think that training cost is a major hurdle. In terms of their acceptance, right? I mean, we have different demographic of people, right? People who are aged, who are not always at the cutting edge of accepting that change, right? So we have to understand those aspects as well. Then we have digitization introducing a lot of data in an organization. So as part of the digital transformation, we have to figure out how we kind of store this data and how do we manage data. That in itself introduces new set of opportunities and also new set of problems in terms of how we efficiently use it. And when we have this data, then we talk about the risk of securing it, right? So now we are talking about like security risk in terms of managing this data and so forth. We also have another problem in terms of embracing innovation, right? So let's say if we come up with let's say we have an innovation that happens outside our organization, how do we bring this inside our organization? So there is this issue of integration of with existing legacy systems and then migration of data to suit those needs. So in general, I think to embrace the change, Gartner speaks about composable enterprise. And what composable enterprise talks about is you have to be agile in nature in terms of fostering collaboration and fostering innovation. So let me just talk about innovation and collaboration here. So I'm talking about collaboration, like where you have collaborating not only within the teams, but also within your department, within your organization. And in turn, you also open collaboration with outside your organization so that you can get the benefits of both the innovation that is happening inside your organization and outside the organization. The second thing is in terms of composability, right? Where if a new innovation that happens outside your organization, it seamlessly integrates with your existing systems with least change. That is, we are talking about packaged business capabilities, which are we just add value, but without any systemic infrastructure or people change. So at NeoITO, we champion in terms of building composable enterprise, and we have a platform which kind of enable this. And we have on one side the startups who we educate that, okay, if you go to an enterprise, I mean, this is how you would position your product so that it's easily pluggable into the enterprise. And for enterprise, they get onboarded so that they are easily integrated to the startups offering. So all in all, I think there's a lot of planning involved, right? And there are a lot of stakeholders involved in terms of digital transformation.
Abhishek, we have seen that a lot has changed in the customer engagement in the past few years, and customer has become more forefront, more important when you have to again penetrate the market. So, and again, pre-COVID, post-COVID, a lot has changed. So, what's your future journey looks like? If you talk about the CRM market, the customer relationship management market, what do you think? How the future journey looks like for this market?
Well, customer has always been important, not that it has become more important after the COVID. Okay. The customer always is the light of any business, right? So people and organizations who have cut that very clearly, been able to place their customer correctly, been able to segment their customer correctly, been able to drive the engagement channels correctly, they have always done better than other organizations. Okay. What has happened, and it has been accelerated by COVID, is that digital onboarding has become no more an option, but it is a necessity for every business, right? Every business will have to drive customer adoption, customer engagement through digital onboarding. All right. These could be the way we see in the CRM market, there are, everybody, the Facebooks, the Googles, the Chat GPT, the Metas of the world, Truecaller now, and Google RCS was there, SMS has been there, WhatsApp chatbots have been there. So every other major technology player is offering you newer ways to reach out to and engage your customers. Okay. So what I see definitely has transformed dramatically in last 3 or 4 years is that customers' ability and likelihood to onboard digitally has become very advanced. Okay. If you if I take you a little bit back, not before, a few years back, whenever you had to subscribe to a cell phone, you probably had to give your digital, no, your physical documents in terms of your identity or Aadhaar cards and everything. But now, no, nothing. You walk into a digital store, they will ask for your Aadhaar, they will click your photograph there, they will cross-check your validity from the KYC of the API of the Aadhaar, and there you go. So this is a prime example of a 5-minute digital onboarding, right? Customer is also very happy, and you are able to do this KYCs at home also. So similarly, all these channels through which customers are being reached out to, they will become more enhanced, more wide, and there will be a demand of making these more secure. Uh, in India, while we are leading the forefront of technology development in certain ways, uh, the next thing that we see is going to be the transformation in the banking area. Till now, banks digitally, whenever they communicate with their end users, they communicate only in 2 languages or maybe in 1 language mostly, which is English, right? That is how the banking systems have been designed for. Going forward, the RBI's recommendation is to interact and engage with the customers in his local preferred language. And we know all that, at least what I know is we got more than 26 states, I think 26 states or 29 states that we have. And so many dialects and so many languages being spoken in the country. So imagine what kind of development is going to happen around uh, sharing, disseminating, targeting in regional languages. So we see a very big development out there. And what we see is digital, you'll see various forms of digital onboarding in your everyday life. You go to a shop, probably he might also ask you to scan a QR code so that next time you come, I will know you. You go to a residential building, there is an app sitting out there. Once your number is registered, this is another form of digital onboarding that app is doing. Maybe later it utilizes your data for a certain different way or permissible way for, kind of reaching out to you. But what we will see is in every walk of life, we will see a larger, more impactful and a more widespread digital onboarding. And this will continue for next 10 years as what I can see.
Great, Abhishek. I think, yes, onboarding has substantially changed. And yes, we expect that enhanced secure solutions along with vernacular customer engagement is going to be the flavor going forward.
Yeah, in fact, you will see a lot of messaging players will launch very heavily securitized solutions, which will have end-to-end encryptions in your SMS messaging. So this is something new development which is taking place in the industry.
So that's great. Thanks a lot, Abhishek. It's a wrap. Thanks a lot, Smita, Faiz, Prem, and Abhishek for sharing such interesting insights during the discussion. This is it from the final episode of Tech Talks. Indian tech startup are transforming the landscape. We had a great panel, most diverse panel. Stay tuned for more such insight discussions happening in the Indian tech industry with NASSCOM Insights YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. Till then, it's goodbye from everyone here at NASSCOM Insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish.
All right.